Here is my world, a slow map that keeps unfolding even when I am not in a hurry to follow it. I am a turtle. I carry my sky on my back and my history under it, layer upon layer, the way a tree keeps its rings. The world believes speed is the way to win. I know better. I have learned the grammar of patience, the long verbs of waiting, the prepositions of shade and shore and current. I have learned that the pace of a heartbeat is enough. I was born in sand that remembered the sun. The beach at night was a riddle of starlight and surf, the nest a warm shifting cradle beneath us. We were a pocket of heartbeat and quiet, and then we were a spark of movement. We cracked our shells with soft insistence and clambered upward, grains of moonlit glass giving way beneath our tiny limbs. Above us the night was a roof of black water and pearls. Ahead of us, a river made of shushing sound called the ocean. We went to it because the ocean speaks to us, even before we have words. My world began as a sprint, the only sprint my life would ever demand. Birds watched like shepherds with bright knives for beaks. Crabs sidestepped, curious and hungry. The waves reached up to greet us and sometimes to take us back. I was small, a thumbnail with eyes, and the sea rose like a moving wall. It could have been a mouth. It became a mother. In that first cold, my panic turned into buoyancy. I learned the alphabet of salt. I grew in the open cobalt, drifting with the sargassum, those floating gardens that hold stories. There were fish the size of my fear, fish the size of my future. There were days of transparent weather, when the water turned to glass and the sky to mirror. And there were days when wind chopped the world into 1,000 small arguments. I learned to tuck my head when a shadow crossed overhead, to kick twice and glide, to read the low music of currents that curl like handwriting across the sea. If you ask what time feels like to me, I will tell you it is not a clock. It is the taste of a current warmed by a distant gyre. It is the age of a barnacle colony, the sound of a reef rebuilding after storm, the soft persistence of algae on the curve of my shell. Time is patient as a stone, learning to be sand, as a mountain practicing the long art of crumbling. The world calls me slow. I call the world impatient. My world has corridors. The first corridor is warmth. It runs like a hidden road through blue wilderness, and those who can feel it have a passport. I follow heat the way a migrating bird follows stars, slipping along the isotherms that sketch a map no human can hold. The second corridor is scent, though in water it is more than smell, it is flavor, memory dissolved. I taste the home beach, in traces of minerals, in the long echo of dried seagrass, in the ghost of my own beginning. The third corridor is sound. Whale hymns like underwater cathedrals, shrimp crackling like rain on tin, the thud of distant surf where the world's edge combs itself. There are cities down here, not of brick and steel, but of coral bones and living lace. The reef is a loud neighborhood, parrotfish chiseling murals from dead limestone, eels peering from doors that swing inward, damsfish tending floating gardens with the seriousness of librarians. The reef glows with borrowed starlight at noon, 1,000 flags and a wind without air. I patrol its margins, a slow constable, and learn the alleys where the current carries plankton in silver drifts. This city ages in storms and heals in daylights. It remembers warm years and cold years, the way I remember the touch of the beach. Sometimes I surface to read the sky. My nostrils break the water like new moons. My breath is a brief cloud that tries to become weather and fails, then vanishes. The line where sea meets air is a blade that does not cut me. Above, the gulls are punctuation. Below, the sharks are commas, pauses that invite attention. Far off, there is a sound like hollow thunder that repeats with no storm to feed it. That is the sound of human water hooves, engines that chew the quiet. I have learned to fear these. Speed has its price, and for me, it is often paid in scars. You will ask, perhaps, what I think of humans. I think you are loud and beautiful, clumsy and miraculous. I have seen your cities gleam like spilled constellations along the coast, your piers reaching out like fingers to touch the sleeping giant of the sea. I have seen the kindness of hands that lift a tangled turtle from a net and cut it free. And I've seen the indifference of plastic ghosts, the bags that pretend to be jellyfish and choke those who taste them. You make ropes that do not rot, hooks that do not forget. You also make sanctuaries, and people who watch the beach at night and speak in whispers, who shepherd our tiny sprints with red lights and careful footsteps. You are a chorus of contradictions. So am I. When I was older, and the ocean had written me in its slow script, I felt a pull that was both map and memory. It told me, return. Turtles are the geometry of circles, disguised as long lines. I followed the old warmth corridor, back across the blue, past floating continents of weed, cast wandering islands of cloud shadow, to the beach that had spoken my first command. Go. The beach had shifted. Beaches do. The dunes were threaded with human footprints and dog tracks, the driftline decorated with bright human shells that do not break. But at night the moon still reached down like a pale hand, and the sand still remembered the sun. I climbed slow, a moving stone, and I dug with the back legs that remember the pattern of our mothers. I made a place for the future, and I let the future go. If anything in this life feels like prayer, that is it. When I am old, and I am old already in the way a well-traveled book is old, with softened corners and a spine that creaks like a dock at noon, I will climb the beach again. I will read the night as if it were a familiar letter. I will dig with the same slow certainty, leave my careful cargo, and return to the tide that repeats my name. The waves will write and erase me, as they do all things. But for a time, as the moon counts the breaths of the sea, there will be a dark oval in the foam, moving with intention. That will be me, a turtle, carrying my home and returning it to the place that first called me. And the world I know will keep unfolding, one slow shining hinge at a time.